Welcome to Conversations with Big Rich. This is an interview-style podcast. These interviewed are all involved in the off-road industry. Being involved, like all of my guests are, is a lifestyle, not just a job. I talk to past, present, and future legends, as well as business owners, employees, media, and land use warriors. Men and women who have found their way into this exciting and addictive lifestyle we call off-road. We discuss their personal history, struggles, successes, and reboots. We dive into what drives them to stay active in off-road. We all hope to shed some light on how to find a path into this world that we live and love and call off-road.
Whether you're crawling the Red Rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2. Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Have you seen 4Low magazine yet? 4Low magazine is a high-quality, well-written, four-wheel drive-focused magazine for the enthusiast market. If you still love the idea of a printed magazine, something to save and read at any time, 4Low is the magazine for you. 4Low cannot be found in stores, but you can have it delivered to your home or place of business. Visit 4lowmagazine.com to order your subscription today. From humble beginnings, my next guest has experienced the ups and downs and overcome challenges to become successful. From working ag and cutting firewood as a kid to Little Caesars Pizza to running a construction company, Jeff Mckinlay has experienced life. All right, Jeff Mckinlay, so glad you're able to join us this morning on Conversations with Big Rich. I'm really looking forward to this interview. You've done a lot of things in your life, and I'm looking forward to finding out about more of them. Thank you for coming on the air.
You bet. It's good to be with you on there, and just good to talk to you again.
Yeah, so here we go. First question, the easy one. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Newdale, Idaho. I spent almost 18 years there.
Newdale, Idaho. And I spent a lot of time in Blackfoot, 4 years, but where is Newdale?
Newdale is on Highway 33 between Rexburg and Driggs, kind of right in the middle there.
Oh, okay. All right. Pretty rural, not a big community.
Yeah, we were just under 200 people in the town growing up.
Okay. So a lot of ag. Was your family in the ag business?
No, we weren't in the ag business. My dad he loved hunting and fishing so much. He wanted to kind of be closer to where all that was, and then he would drive to work. So we just grew up in a rural community full of farmers, but there was others that lived out there that, commuted for work.
Same thing. What did your dad do for work?
For a long time he was a contractor, but then he hired on with the site, the Idaho National Engineering Laboratories. So he spent 30 years out there.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a good career.
Yeah.
So growing up pretty rural there, how many kids in your family?
There was 5, including me, 1 boy and 3 girls.
1 boy, 1 other boy and 3 girls. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I was first thing, wait a second, that's only 4. Oh, I get it. Yeah, including you.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't catch on real quick in the morning. So where do you fall in that range of kids?
So I'm the second oldest. I have a sister that's older and a sister just younger, then my younger brother, then my youngest sister.
Okay. And did you guys, was there a school there in Newdale, or did you guys have to bus to Rexburg?
No, we had to bus to Sugar Salem.
Oh, Sugar Salem. Okay.
Yep. It was about 6 miles away, 6 or 7 right in there.
All right. What's it like riding a school bus in the winter?
Well, that bus driver goes through quite a bit. The plows are actually really good over in this area compared to other places, just because we deal with it so much. But yeah, I mean, there was times when we got off the road and stranded and wait for another bus to come, or your parents would come pick you up, or I mean, living in New Dell with equipment, I actually pulled school buses back on the road back in the day.
Right. Okay. Cool. And what was school like for you? Were you a good student, or were you looking to get outside?
You know what? I always loved outdoors, but I was into all the sports I could, and so I kept my grades up because of that. I would say I didn't try real hard, but I kept at least a B plus average, just so there was never any questions.
And what kind of sports did you enjoy?
I played football. I was on the varsity team as a sophomore. Ended up going to the state championship game twice with them, and I played baseball for 4 years, and then wrestling was what I was good at. And I did that my whole life, all growing up, going to Western regionals and nationals, and in high school. I mean, I started as a freshman, ended up a four-time state champion, and that's kind of what taught me a good work ethic is the wrestling and the training, and it's kind of made me who I am today, because when you're wrestling, there's nobody helping you. There's not a team. There's nobody that can come out and give you a hand. Nothing. You figure out how to do it and you make it work.
Very true. Very true. They scored as a team sport, but it is an individual sport for sure.
Yeah, you're on your own.
There, yeah. And so when you played football, what position did you play?
I played middle linebacker and running back. Our school was small, so we had to play both ways.
Right. And what kind of outside of the school activities did you enjoy?
Well, hunting and fishing for sure. Right, hunting's probably one of my favorite things to do. But all growing up, we did all sorts of outdoor activities: hunting, fishing, camping, hiking. I don't like hiking anymore unless I'm hunting, but
that's why we have Jeeps.
That's right.
Or four-wheelers. Or
Yep.
So then, what's your? Are you elk hunting, deer hunting, bear hunting, everything?
Yeah, if you can hunt it, I want to hunt it. Deer and elk are my favorite, but yeah, I hunt bears every year, cats, everything.
Very good. And what is the population of bears in your area, or where do you head out to hunt bear?
Well, so I've got a cattle ranch right below the Tetons, and there's plenty of bears on it. I haven't had to go anywhere besides there for years, and that's right up above New Dell, kind of where I grew up. So I guess in a way I've been just hunting there my whole life.
So you raise cattle now?
Well, I did up until a year and a half ago. I was running 150 pairs, and then the price of cattle went way up. So I sold them, decided to limit some of the burdens on myself and try to get a little more freedom.
There you go. Okay. And as you were growing up, did you have a job? Did you have any jobs or anything, or did you, how did you work around, what was your besides, playing and hunting and sports, did you work?
Oh yeah. Our family, we actually grew up pretty poor. For the longest time, my mom made all my clothes, and we got our shoes from the thrift store. And I think things were tough. I would move pipe through the summer to be able to afford a few things, when I was 12 and 13, and then as I got a little older, I got to do a little more work, around the farms for the farmers. And then, once I got in high school, up in New Dell, we had 4 cows growing up, 4 milk cows. And part of what helped pay for our groceries is we would sell that milk. And so with my dad working at the site, that left it up to me, and I would milk 4 cows morning and night by hand. I think it was my junior year, we finally got a automatic milker, and that kind of saved a lot of time.
And young were you when you got married?
Let's see. I think I was 21.
21. Okay.
Yep.
Did you you're LDS, correct?
I was raised that way.
Okay. Okay, so you didn't serve a mission?
No.
Okay. All right. And was it your wife, was that somebody you went to school with, or did you meet later on?
No. When I went to college, in the summertime, I would come back and I had a buddy that owned a bunch of Little Caesars pizzas. And so in the summertime, when I'd come back, I would manage those stores for him. And I ended up over in Mountain Home by Boise one summer managing a store over there. And she actually worked for me when I met her, and she just followed me back home.
Oh, okay. So you were the guy walking around going pizza, pizza?
Exactly.
And what did you study in college?
I did, well, I went into business management with, I was going to go into engineering, but then that didn't work out. So I just stayed with the business management program, and that's where I was.
And then after doing the pizza thing, did you is that when you got into construction?
Yeah. So growing up, I guess I failed to mention that I'd spend a lot of time helping, because my dad had a little side deal where he'd go and do addition on houses and stuff. And so I kind of learned to do construction through that. But yeah, it was after college that I started in on the construction.
And when your wife followed you back from Mountain Home, did you guys got married right away, or got married then?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, we got married right away. So it was actually real easy for her to come back over this way, because her mom actually grew up in Parker, Idaho, over by St. Anthony. So her mom's family was, right here, 7 or 8 miles away from where I was.
Okay. All right. Fortunate that you went to Mountain Home then.
I'm so glad I did. Probably one of the best things I've ever done.
Awesome. And let's talk about those early years with being married, starting a business. Or did you start your own business, or did you work for others first?
Yeah, I worked for others for 4 or 5 years. And then once I had the knowledge to do it myself, I went out on my own, and I started out in large commercial concrete construction. And then I moved. I did that for multiple years, building all over the United States. I got tied in with a few good generals that just sent me all over doing concrete for large commercial buildings. And then I realized it's really hard to get paid when you're not the guy in charge of the money. So then I decided I needed to be a general, and now I specialize in commercial construction, but mainly steel buildings, and that's kind of where I'm at today.
Okay. And what was the process like to go from working as a subcontractor to a general?
There was a lot more paperwork involved, because now instead of just turning in a bid and do the work and get paid for it, now you got to turn in a bid for all phases of the construction project, all 25 phases or 70, whatever it is. And then you got to make sure those bids are right. You got to make sure you get your contracts, get them signed from them, and make sure you got money in the bank to pay people when the owner doesn't pay you on time, because a lot of people don't like to be strung out on their money. And I understand that, because it's hard, and it's, unfortunately, it's something that happens in the construction industry all the time. People are just fine waiting 90 days to pay you, or sometimes more, and that's really hard on subcontractors.
Right, because they're typically you know, they're hand to mouth, you might say.
Yeah, it's you work job to job, and yeah, you're your own boss, but it is kind of paycheck to paycheck because I mean, when you're a subcontractor, you still have other mouths to feed, so you got to make sure you got that money coming in, and say you do, I don't know, 10 jobs a month or whatever, and five of them decide that they're going to string you out 90 days. Well, then where's your money coming from to pay payroll and keep things rolling? You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. So when did when you were growing up and you got to that age of driving, were you able to get a car or a truck right away, or were you still hoofing it for a while?
No, I had dirt bikes that got me around when I was younger, moving pipe and stuff. But um, you could get your license at 13 back then, and I got my license right at 13, and uh, I saved up, I think it was $180, and bought a F-150 Ford Highboy. And
For
I think,
that's pretty good.
well, it didn't run, so my dad
Okay.
helped me. My dad helped me put a motor in it, and we realized that the axles were bad, and so then we ended up working on those. And honestly, it was fun, and I learned a lot. But I think I probably worked on that thing more than I drove it.
And how long did it take you to get it to where it was at least roadworthy?
I don't think I ever got it there, but I drove it anyway. Being in a rural community and everything else, I mean, you
Just-
kind of knew everybody, and so I'd go out and break down on the side of the road, and somebody'd pick me up and take me home. Then we'd drag it home, fix it again, you know.
Right. That's pretty awesome. What about the next vehicle?
The next one, I ended up getting an older S10, and it ran all the time and worked and did everything it needed to. So those Chevy S10s were pretty good rigs back then.
And did you keep that for very long? Did you leave it stock?
No,
No.
no, I modified it, lifted it, big tires, and kind of ruined it a little bit that way, but it's what I do.
Right. And when did you first experience? I guess it would probably be hunting, wouldn't it? When you first experienced 4-wheel drive or off road?
Oh yeah, yeah. Hunting was a big part of it. We'd always and we hauled. My dad and I and my brother, we hauled a lot of firewood. We'd go up and get firewood on the weekends so we could sell it to help kind of make ends meet. And we did a lot of 4x with a full load on, you know.
Right. And
But
cutting firewood, that's pretty labor intensive, I would say. But you were athletic, you were, a rural kid. You weren't a city kid. You weren't playing, video games or sitting on the couch.
yeah, I look back at it like this because I've coached a lot of football with my kids growing up and everything, and man, weights weren't a big thing back then. But between milking cows and hauling firewood and stacking hay and getting it in off the fields, and I mean, you just did a lot of labor intensive work that just got you those workouts you needed to be in shape for sports.
Right. That country strong, country tough.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're, how long were you guys married till you started having children?
Let's see, 23. I think we were married 2 years before we had our daughter. So yeah, 23. Then we had our daughter, and then 18 months later we had Trey, our son, and then about just over 2 years later we had our third son, Kade.
Okay. And growing up, the kids were. I mean, I've met the boys. Excellent, excellent, excellent young men. And sorry to hear about Trey's accident. Really, I'm that's rough. I'm sure it's still not easy.
Yeah, it was actually Kade, and
Oh, Kade.
thank you, but yeah, it's you just never know in this world when it's your time or what's going to happen the next day. So a guy needs to live each day the way he should, and keep those relationships and be the kind of person you want to be remembered for, because you never know when it's your time.
Right. And yeah, you've suffered loss with some friends too. Do you want to talk about your good friend that you lost?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
So Kevin Carroll and I, we became buddies on let's see, I was living in Grand Junction, Colorado, and I went dirt biking over by Green River, and you have to pass through the turnoff to go to Moab, which is where Kevin lives, to get to Green River biking. Well, we'd went biking, and I got a message from a guy named Kevin Carroll while I was biking that day. I was doing steel buildings at the time, and I got this message that says, "Hey, I hear you're the guy I need to do the erection on these buildings. This is my number. I'm in Moab. Give me a call or stop by anytime." And obviously I'm pretty hungry when it comes to business. I like it. And he was doing that business park out there. I think he said he had 6 or 7 buildings. So automatically I was like, yeah, I better go meet this guy. So on my way home from biking that day, I just turned off and went into Moab, because it's 30 minutes up the road, and called him and met him over there, and he was at his shop, and he had an old Spider Tracks rear steer, or not Spider Tracks, Twisted Customs rear steer little buggy, like 103-inch wheelbase, pretty narrow, 4.3 in it, but it was one of the better buggies at the time. And I was like, what in the world is that? And he said, well, let me show you. So we drove across the highway, and he took me up a couple different rock waterfalls, and I just knew right then that that's something I had to do. And obviously I went over and built those buildings for him, and we did a lot of business together, and we became really good friends, crawling together all the time. And I actually bought that car that we went and test drove, and he was having a new car built. Craig Ross at Rockworks was building him a new car, and so he sold me that one. And his new car was working pretty good, and mine wasn't keeping up. So, man, I did a complete overhaul on that thing. I stretched it out to 112. I put 40 spline axles under it. I put an LS motor in it. And that's kind of where the conception of the Red Dot car came from. And we got it out there, and it was working real good. And then Kevin said, hey, bring that back over to the shop. And then him and Gary and Cliff kind of went through it and kind of redesigned a few things on it, and put together the actual first Red Dot car. And then from there, him and I we built multiple cars after that. I mean, we were doing at least one a year and just trying to make them better. And I think that's really what helped evolve Red Dot. Is Kevin, he wouldn't sit still. He wanted the best. He wanted to push the industry, and he wanted everybody and their dogs to have rear steer cars, so he had more people to play with.
Interesting. And he was quite the outdoorsman as well. Not just wheeling, but anything he could, like a thrill seeker almost.
Oh yeah, we rode dirt bikes. We did everything, and it didn't matter whether it was an adventure bike, dirt bike, a dirt bike, a trials bike. He had them all, and he loved it all. He had his own little cabin up in the mountains, is clear off the grid and clear away from everything, and he'd spend a lot of time up there. He was definitely an outdoorsman.
Did you ever fly with him?
Actually, yeah, because I was flying for quite a while, and he'd come up and fly with me in my plane. And I never actually got in his plane with him being the main pilot, but he rode with me a bunch.
Okay.
And I had a couple near-death experiences in mine, and I sold it. And it was just too close. I mean, man, a rock crawler, I can roll it over or fall off a 15-foot cliff, and I'm going to be okay. But in that airplane, there's not a lot of options. And so he kept flying, and eventually that's what got him. But he was doing what he loves. And I mean, we all love him for that. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to just tell a couple things about Kevin that
Sure.
a lot of people probably never knew. He was really, really serious about making those cars good and making them perfect, making the best car out there. And I remember we had the dash going all the way across the rock crawler, right? And it limited your vision. So I changed the dash on my car and made it to where it just covered the doghouse, but which is what everybody's doing now. You could see out the right, you could see straight in front of you. And I'll tell you what, that guy was so mad at me for making that change. He didn't talk to me for 3 months. And that's kind of the way he was. But all it took is we ended up at somewhere where we were both crawling again, and we were best buddies again, and life goes on. But anybody that's crawled with him knows that you don't spot and you don't help, and you better keep up or you're just getting left. When you start a trail with Kevin, and I'll be 100% honest, I am a good crawler. I have been a good crawler because of him. Because you start up a trail with him, and there's no easy trail when you go with Kevin, but he's not going to come back and help you. Well, if you break or something, he's for sure there. But he's not going to come spot you up something. He's darn sure going to laugh at you when you're not making it. And he expects everybody to get their own car there, or they don't need to be there with us. So he was pretty serious about that. But he was, I mean, there hasn't been anybody since him that would put together wheeling trips, 4 or 5 days of the hardest wheeling there is. I mean, he used to love to put together those trips, and I mean, I look forward to it all the time, and I really do miss that.
Right. And some of the guys you guys got involved, you want to run down a partial list or something?
Well, yeah. So now Kevin was really good buddies with Tracy Jordan. They did a lot together, but he was already buddies with Tracy Jordan before I came along. I kind of came along at kind of the tail end of Tracy's crawling, and so Tracy was always one of Kevin's guys. I mean, I think Kevin called Tracy just about every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. That was his first call, right when he's having his coffee. And I think, talking to Tracy, I think he really enjoyed that. But I mean, there's Alec Yeager, the Rock Dog, and Justin Kyleman. I mean, those were some of our main guys, going out there with us and doing all the hard stuff. And then all those guys from the Rat Pack, after Walker Evans kind of got older and slowed down, then a lot of those guys from the Rat Pack, then they became the guys we were running around with, Jerry Edgar and Doug McBurney and all those guys.
Nice. Some real talent.
Oh man, great drivers. Good people, great drivers.
So you came out to We Rock and gave that a try. Talk about that first time you came out.
I came out there and I knew I had the best car in the world. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be easy. But what I didn't realize is it was a big car. It wouldn't fit through the gates. I didn't understand the game. I mean, We Rock's a really cool sport, but I mean, you got to know the ins and outs of it to be competitive. I mean, there's a strategy to it. There's all sorts of rules to it. And man, I went out there the first time and I hit all the cones and got hung up and went full throttle for 5 or 6 minutes trying to get off. but it was fun, and I realized after the first crawling event that the type people there and the community that's in there they were just great people, and I kind of wanted more of it, but obviously I knew if I was going to stay in and compete, I had to do something different. So that's when I started doing some of the smaller cars.
Right. Yeah, I remember Kevin and I talking about his cars coming in and competing at We Rock and what his goal was. And I said, you got a great all around car, a great car for going out and doing trail braking, but the rock crawling competitions are a different beast. It may not be the hardest obstacle ever that you'll face, but it's the way we make you have to drive it. You don't have a choice. You can't pick your own line. You've got to drive our line. And the thing he always wanted me to do was make the gates wider so his cars would fit better. And I kept telling him, I said, well, then, the little single seat rock buggies are going to just, be able to make U-turns in between the cones. They're going to be able to, they're going to have so much more room. It's not going to really help you. And, but he would sure force that big car through there. And, he podiumed nearly every time he came out.
Well, that's all skill.
Right.
He's as talented a guy as there's been in a car, I think. He ranks right up there with some of the best of them. Right.
I agree. If we could have just gotten him to try a small car,
you can't believe the raft of crap he gave me with that first small car. We'd take it out wheeling and he'd laugh at it and I'd somehow get it to go where he was going. And some things I'd do a lot easier than him because the small car just fit better. But for the most part, those small cars, when you get out on the big trails, they don't do as well as the Red Dot.
Right.
And the Red Dot's still a good car today.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great trail breaker car. I mean, for what you got, those doing those the gnarliest of the gnarl, you might say.
Yeah.
So you're working as a contractor. You're building buildings. You're playing hard. What are some of the other things besides rock crawling that you do?
You know what? I still do all this. I mean, I just got back from Texas, just barely. I went over there hunting and went to Katempsey Rocks and played over there at that Top Gun deal. And man, what an awesome place over there, at Katempsey. But yeah, I still do all the same stuff I did. Now my kids are kind of grown up and I'm a grandpa now. And, but I spent a lot of years and it actually made it to where I couldn't compete as much as I wanted to. Because I was so involved in my daughter's basketball. I was helping coach that, and I made sure not to miss any of their games. And I coached the boys through football. I even helped coach on the high school team, and our school got its first state championship with the kids that I started coaching them in fourth grade and coached them all the way through to seniors. And they actually won a whole bunch of championships as kids, from fourth grade to eighth grade, and then ultimately ended up winning the state championship too. And so I was heavily involved in that for 10, 12 years. And that kind of consumed a lot of my life. And then after I was done coaching football, my business had suffered. I was still rock crawling, but then I had to go back to work real hard and build the company back up. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I did it right because I spent as much time with my kids as they were growing up. I still do, but I remember at my youngest son Kade's funeral, the amount of people that came and saw all the pictures and all the different stuff, and they're just saying, you know what, that you did more with that kid in 17 years than most people do with their kids in their entire life, and that was a compliment. I really feel good about that.
Excellent. And that's the way it should be. Yeah, I coached Little Rich through football up till high school. I didn't help with high school, but I still made most of his practices and all of his games. But I can remember that, well, 8 years old, 7 8 years old, playing Boys and Girls Club down in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I cherish those times. They're real important.
Oh, for sure. Yep, the the bonds you make with your kids when they're young help ensure that you'll have the bond as they grow older and have their own kids, and they still want to keep coming around and spend that time with you.
Exactly. So you rode motorcycles and snowmobiled a lot too, right?
Oh yeah. Yep, every chance I get.
And when you were younger, you rode motocross. You competed.
Yeah. Yep. I raced a bunch and won a few things. A couple different arena crosses is about the highest I got up in there. But yeah, it was fun. It's still a passion of mine. I still try to go once a week, on a big 8 9 hour ride.
Nice, very nice. And you're up in Rexburg now.
Yeah, I'm in Rigby. I'm between
Rigby.
Rexburg and Idaho Falls.
Okay. And what's the future look like for the McKinlay family?
Man, I'm liking the grandkid thing. I hope we get lots more of those, and I've got a place down in St. George now, and I'm trying to spend a lot of the winters down there since Kade passed away in that avalanche. Snow kind of gives me claustrophobia, and it really makes me. It takes me out of who I am. I'm a pretty ornery, negative person when I'm in the snow, and my wife was. Man, she's awesome. She was smart enough to realize that. And so her and I went down and bought a house in St. George. And then we go down to St. George for most of the winter. We come, we'll be around for the holidays and different stuff, but we just kind of try to stay out of the snow now. And just so it makes us both happier to not be in the snow. But in the summer months, there's not a better place to live than up here in southeastern Idaho.
So are you you're in St. George, or are you in Hurricane like everyone else, or?
Yeah, I've got a place in Dixie Springs, so
Okay.
just below the park, and there's a reason for that, obviously. So I'm right close to all the crawling.
Right, and everybody, that's like crawler central.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of guys there, and there's actually a lot of guys right in there that have my cars now.
Right. Yeah. And how many cars have you guys produced?
I think there's been 27 chassis go out now.
Wow.
There's a few of those that aren't done yet, but we're out to 27, I think.
That's pretty good. And are those all two-seaters, single-seaters?
No, the majority of them are two-seaters, but there's 5. There's 6 of my that new one I debuted last year. There's 6 of those out there now.
Okay. And how did you do it at the Texas Top Gun shootout?
I think I did real good. Okay, so in qualifiers, I think Caleb went second and I went 6th, and we were the only 2 that actually made it through the whole qualifier course. And then nobody was getting through. And then they decided, because it had rained a couple of days before and it was putting mud on the rocks, but we figured out how to keep our tires off the rocks, and the other guys weren't. But then they ended up pausing and saying, okay, we're thinking about rolling this big rock into the mud hole so we can get more guys through. So we let them do that, but they were real good about it. They said, Caleb and Jeff won't lose their positions. They'll be the top 2 qualifiers. And there was guys that actually, after we put that rock in, Jake Bowen and Earl both had faster times than Caleb and I did, because they ended up finishing. But anyways, our qualifying spot stayed as the top two. And then so on the next day on the first course, you get 15 minutes. And I think everybody that went through was at least 12 minutes on the first course. And Caleb and I both did it in right at 5 minutes. And so we were sitting pretty good going into the second course. And on the second course, 9 out of the 10 made it through to the second course. And Caleb and I were the last two to go, but some rocks kind of got moved around, and it took a long time because there was some pretty severe breaks on one obstacle. And then Caleb and I both went out on the second course because we got into a banner. But I've talked with a few of the guys on it now, and they're kind of new to it, and so they're learning as they go down there, and they're just, I got to tell you, Rich, anybody that wants to go have just a great time wheeling and in a great place, there's no better people than those guys down there in Texas. They are awesome. I would recommend it to anybody.
I agree totally. Yeah.
But anyways, so kind of what took us out is they used banners, to keep you on course and on the obstacle. Well, you know what happens when you got 100-foot banner 12 feet wide. It's pretty hard to stay out of those with a crawler,
Right.
So I think they're going to maybe try to use some feathers and stuff to upgrade the courses and the competition. But I'm telling you, I have no regrets. I'd go do that again. I was able to shoot 2 really nice whitetail bucks with my bow when I went over there, and man, I can't wait to go back there again next year.
Very good. And did you so you got the whitetails on one of the local ranches nearby?
Yeah, there's a place about 2 hours away that I got in contact with, and they helped me get my Texas license, and they're an outfitter, and yeah, they had it set up. I mean, they had some corn feeders out there feeding the deer, and that kind of kept them real close, and it was just an amazing hunt.
Nice. I know when we did a dirt riot race out there, couple of the guys wanted to hunt, so they borrowed my rifle, and they got a couple of pigs and a bouffon. I think I'm pronouncing it right. One of the sheep.
Yep.
And hunted with one of the outfitters nearby.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes it fun when you can go to a competition and do something like that, for sure.
Right. So, anything else that you got going or you're doing that people might want to hear about? How about your grandkids? You got one so far or more?
Yep, I just have one, and I think she's just over 17 months, and boy, I'll tell you what, I'm glad she loves her papa, because I sure love her.
Awesome.
And my wife and I, we come up with all sorts of excuses to go see her and hang around with her. And this last summer, we helped my daughter and her husband remodel a house, and they've got another one on the way now. And so we got them into a nice place now. And well, we didn't. We just helped them remodel it. My son-in-law, he works for a large farmer over here. Well, he doesn't work for him. His family owns a large farm over here, and so he's part of a big farming outfit, the Crapos.
Okay.
But then Trey, my second oldest, we're just in the final stages of finishing his first house. He got married this last summer, and I've been helping him build a house this summer, and he should move into it right after Thanksgiving. And so hopefully they get settled in, and I get some grandkids on that side too.
Excellent. And you'll keep building steel buildings?
Yeah, for now. I between Trey and my main guy that's worked for me for years, the company's eventually going to go to them, but we don't have an exact timeline of when that's going to happen, but it won't be too much longer before I'm I'm getting out of it. But I mean, I have multiple other businesses that kind of run themselves, and I really, this is bad to say, but I don't think I've worked much past noon for 3 years now. So it's not like it's real hard work.
There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Having multiple revenue streams can make life easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so with not working as much as I used to, I picked up golf here probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I get out there quite a bit, and it's pretty fun. I love that so that's probably a good thing to say, because I don't know if a lot of people know or understand this, but just say you get on a motorcycle and you're going to go for a 4-hour ride. Now, it takes all of your focus and all of your attention. Like your mind is in other places. Your mind isn't thinking about work. It's not thinking about what you're doing the next day. And I mean, you're focused. You got to do that. And I feel the same way when I'm crawling. I feel the same way if I'm riding a snow machine. And even golf does it for me too, is it just kind of resets my mind and gives me that reprieve from all the day-to-day stress. You know what I mean? I feel like it just resets me and helps me to be a better person, because I get rid of that stress for, 2 hours or 4 hours or, whatever it is.
Right. I'd have to agree. I can't say that golf would be something I would ever take up. I tried it in the 90s. I had a guy working for me, an assistant manager, that tried to convince me to go out and play golf. And for 2 weeks, we went to the driving range and I hit buckets of balls. And I realized then that it was not something that I was going to master real easily, or it came to me naturally. So I decided after 2 weeks of hitting balls that it was not the sport for me, because I have to, whenever I do something, I have to do it at a high level. I'm not happy unless I master it. And I realized that golf was going to be one of those that I could do for 100 years and probably never master it. And I watch professional golfers out there that, the guys that are the masters, and they still, they'll shank one or whatever. And it's like, I just couldn't handle that. I mean, I was to the point where I wanted to throw clubs, just at the driving range. So it was like, this is not a good sport for me.
Yeah, I know guys like that for sure. I'm the same way. I jumped in and decided, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be good at it. And it took 2 or 3 years, but I finally got it down to where I'm a single handicapper, and I can usually shoot under 80, and I've been under par, and man, I just enjoy it. And yeah, I'll go out there and I'll have those days where the ball just doesn't go where I thought I was hitting it. And it also builds character too. It's a character builder. If you can go out there and deal with a subpar round of golf and still be a good, happy, positive person, then that's all good. But if you let it eat you up inside, you need to work on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's me. There's a reason I don't compete, in that I was an event promoter, and because I'm not a good competitor. I'm terrible if I win, because I'm going to let you know about it, and then when I lose, I'm even worse. I am not. I wasn't cut out to be a competitor. Shelley, one time down at Sand Hollow, Charlene Bauer put on this 2-lap race thing that we did, and the first lap was just going around the course, and then we had like obstacles that we had to do along the way, driving blindfolded with your navigator helping you get through the obstacle, things like that. And I'm like, I really don't think we should do this. And she's like, come on, it'll be fun. And I'm like, no, there's a reason I don't even play board games with the kids. There's no way. I just don't do it. And she was like, no, it'll be fun. We'll do this and we'll write an article for the magazine about it. Well, I think the article in the magazine ended up being more about me and not competing with somebody that really isn't a good competitor. Because when we went out on the first lap, we were I don't remember how many cars there were, but we were the third to the last to go out. So 2 cars behind me. The first car passes me up and I'm like, all right. And then Ryan Miller in this little TJ went flying past me. And so then that was it. Now I'm in the back of the pack. Everybody's past me. And I'm like, all right. So I start picking up speed, and my Jeep is built for slow speed. There's no up travel in the shocks whatsoever. I had like maybe an inch and a half of up travel. And Shelly, the ride's getting really rough. And Shelly goes, what are you doing? And I said, we're in last place. And Shelly goes, it doesn't matter where we're at. And I'm like, yeah, Ryan Miller just passed us. And she goes, it doesn't matter. On the first lap, she made me stop for half an hour and eat lunch. And I was pulling my hair out. So we continue. We get through the first lap. We're only, maybe a mile into the second lap, and I stuffed a rim in a spot where I knew that this could happen, and I blew a rim up, and our day was done. And we never even got to any of the points where, you got to work together as a team. And she was not happy. Let's just put it that way. But now she understands when I say, no, I don't want to compete. She understands. She gets it.
Yep. Well, I've been around you long enough that I can say I'm glad you became a promoter, because you're what made We Rock for me. I mean, it was one of those things that you were the guy you could call and have a conversation, and even in the heat of the battle, you could still talk to me, even if I was frustrated over something, and you were super logical. You stayed calm, unlike what you're talking about. And it made for a great, what do you call it? It's just made for a good experience for me. Just having you there, knowing that you were there and you were just steady and consistent. And even though I would mess up and get mad, I knew that, okay, this is the way it's going to be, and that's the way it'll always be, because Rich says so, and you can trust that, and I stayed with it and fought it, and I think, was it 2019 or 2020 that I made a clean sweep on the season, won all the events.
Right. I don't remember which year it was, but I do remember that happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thankful you're there, or were there. You made it awesome for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people. And man, you've meant a lot to the rock sports industry. And gosh, it's good to know you and be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate that. I one of the things that I always tried to do is be consistent, and it didn't matter who I was having to deal with. Rules were rules, and it didn't matter if you were the best driver or if it was your first time out. The rule was, to me, was black and white, and I would explain why the rule was written the way it was, and I would hold to it. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter if I was having that conversation with somebody that was one of our marketing partners, or if it was, Jesse or Tracy or yourself, or, like I said, somebody that I can't even remember their name because it was their first time out. The rule was written and the rule was called the same way every time. Consistency meant something.
I agree with that. Yep, you're 100% right. That's the way it was for me, working with you.
Well, I appreciate that. So you're down in you're up in Idaho right now, right?
Yep, I'm in Idaho. We head to St. George a week from Saturday.
Okay. And then you're you're snowbirding it then.
Yep, then we snowbird. We'll come home for the Christmas and New Year's holidays and head back down.
Awesome. Jeff, I really appreciate you taking the time today and talking about your life and, your everything that you've done and the people that you've done it with. And I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on there. It was good to chat with you and get to talk a little bit about Kevin. We don't get to do that a whole lot anymore. I still do every chance I get, and I'm just happy for all the people that are pushing the rock sports industry. I love it. I hope I'm doing good for it, and thank you.
Well, you take care and have a great day, and love on that granddaughter.
Will do. Thanks, Rich.
All right, you take care. Bye-bye.
See you.
Well, that's another episode of Conversations with Big Rich. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you could do us a favor and leave us a review on any podcast service that you happen to be listening on, or send us an email or a text message or a Facebook message, and let me know any ideas that you have, or if there's anybody that you have that you think would be a great guest, please forward the contact information to me so that we can try to get them on. And always remember, live life to the fullest. Enjoying life is a must. Follow your dreams and live life with all the gusto you can. Thank you.